Hey friends, welcome to the Taking Your Next Step podcast from Collegians for Christ. Through each episode, we will journey together focusing on becoming better followers of Jesus. If you are eager, like I am, to follow Jesus Christ and take your next step now by joining us in today's episode. You know, it may not be atheism that is replacing Christianity in America. We understand that, yes, unbelief and atheism is increasing in America. But I would say it may not be atheism that's replacing Christianity. It may very well be stuff. You see, Sunday worship has been replaced with shopping. God is replaced with more than enough stuff to consume our time and attention for the rest of our lives. Stuff is everywhere. And everywhere we look, stuff is being marketed to us. You need to buy this. You can't live without it. Think about all the advertisements that show the person with the product or the service. They look so happy. So in order for you to have happiness and fulfillment in life, you must have this product. And so in our search for happiness, we purchase, we buy, we keep, we store up, we fill the closets, we fill the drawers, we fill our phone with all sorts of apps and all sorts of things, and none of that really brings happiness. None of that really brings true fulfillment. You see, we're continuing to talk about living a simple life or about minimizing our lives in order to be with Jesus. Joshua Becker, he writes about minimalism full time, and he defined it this way. It's the intentional promotion of the things we most value and the removal of everything that distracts us from them. What is it when we're talking about being minimalist, when we're talking about living the simple life? Does it mean we're going to live in a house with no furniture? We're going to have one pair of clothes and we're going to have crackers in the cabinet and that's it? And that's not exactly what we're talking about. You see, we've got so much busyness in our lives. We've got so many distractions. And so it's the intentional promotion. Really, we're identifying what is essential and we're going to give what has the most value, the most attention, the most time, with the removal of all those things that are non-essential, that really don't matter. Doesn't mean they're bad. Many of them can be good, but they don't really matter in our life, for our purpose, for what God created us for our role and position in life. Another writer defines simplicity or the simple life this way. Simplicity is an inward reality that can be seen in an outward lifestyle of choosing to leverage time, money, talents, and possessions towards what matters most. So what are we doing? We're investing our talents, our time, our money to what? The essentials, to what really matters. Now, while reducing the clutter in your closet, in your house will help, we'll talk about that briefly, we're really aiming to declutter your life so that you and I can spend some focused, intentional time. We've talked about this. Nothing happens by accident. What we do is going to have to be intentional. And we're going to look here in Luke chapter 12, verse 15. There's a passage here that Jesus speaks, but we'll read one verse here, and it says this, "And he said unto them, Take heed and beware of covetousness, for a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things which he possesseth." And he goes down and talks about this person who built greater barns and so forth, and just to store up stuff. And he says at the very end, "So is he that layeth up treasure for himself and is not rich towards God." What is this? He says, "Thou fool, this night shall thy soul be required of thee. Then who shall those things be which thou hast provided?" So he talks about the person that lays up much for God, much treasure for God, is going to be rich towards God. But whoever lays up treasure here on earth towards himself will not be rich towards God. So let's talk about this idea of reducing the clutter in your life. Let me just give you a few thoughts. One, clutter consumes precious time and attention. You see, clutter can be the things that we have. It could be things that we do. Clutter can be people in our lives. Clutter can be issues, drama. You know, if you've got constant drama in your life, it can be clutter. Our calendar, our schedules can be clutter in our life. Unfinished jobs, things we started but never finished. Disorganization can be clutter. Too much obligation can be clutter in our lives. You see, clutter is things that lie around and crowd our lives. It's unnecessary things or more than enough stuff that crowds our lives. But the truth about clutter, these these non-essentials that we're trying to identify. They consume time, they consume energy and attention that could be placed elsewhere. Now, have you ever walked into a basement, an attic? We talked about that in our previous episode, how we fill our basements, attics, closets up with stuff. It's crammed full with all sorts of stuff. Maybe you've walked into your closet. Maybe it's your attic. Maybe it's your basement. I have an attic and we have stuff in it, and we're working right now to go through it, to declutter it. Because you walk in and you don't even know where to begin. You stare at it. You think about what you should do. You touch a couple things. You step back. You look again. You think some more. You try again. And you only say, well, I'll work at this later because I don't even know where to begin. There's just so much stuff. And maybe some of it matters. Maybe some of it doesn't. I don't know what to get rid of. I need to get rid of that. Now I don't really have the energy. I've got other stuff I need to do. You see, clutter is that stuff getting in the way of you spending time with Jesus, with people, with fulfilling the Great Commission. Clutter is the stuff getting in the way of you being able to meditate, with you being able to pray. And so some of this clutter is absolutely unnecessary and even useless, but we allow it to sit there piled up in the way. And so clutter consumes precious time and attention, but clutter also does this. It steals the peace and tranquility in life that we so desperately desire. You see, clutter and disorganization go hand in hand. You see, when I'm disorganized, I am way less productive. I can walk into my office and maybe over the weekend or something, there's just stuff all over the desk, stuff scattered. Maybe my younger son was in here playing and some of his toys were scattered around. And I walk into that Monday morning and I feel so disorganized. I feel overwhelmed. I don't even know where to begin. I have a hard time even starting, making decisions. And if your schedule's like that, if your life is like that, if your goals are like that, if your room is like that, if your house is like that, if your car is like that, you see that disorganization steals peace. It steals the tranquility that we desire and so desperately want. It steals us the ability to meditate and spend time in solitude with the Lord. It steals the potential and opportunity to be with Jesus. You see, clutter makes it so easy to stay busy and distracted. And it's something that we must remove. I told you that this has been a journey for myself, and we began to declutter certain places in my life. One, I did, and then we began to declutter stuff in our home. Began to see what is important, what is not, and began to really organize stuff. And, wouldn't it be amazing? Think about this. If we didn't have so much stuff that we even had to organize it, that we had just what we needed. And so there's therefore no need to organize, no need to sort, that we only had exactly what we needed, but we have so much stuff. And we've decluttered, and we still have so much stuff. And honestly, all this stuff, it allows me to stay busy, distracted, because I think about this, I see that, I can't think straight with this. Clutter consumes our time and attention, and it constantly robs us of peace of mind, and thus the peace in life. Remember, Jesus wants to give us peace. He told us, "Come unto me, all you that labor and heavy laden, and I will give you rest." You see, Jesus desires for us to walk through this life working for Him, fulfilling our duties, our God-called purpose, but be able to do so in rest and in peace. And so when we clear the clutter, we declutter our lives, guess what we can find? We can find peace. We can sit quiet and we can sit still because we don't see all these things. We're not distracted by all these things. And we don't think, well, I need to go do that, and that needs to be taken care of. And what about when we declutter, what is important, what is essential is there. And all the non-essentials are being moved out. Why? So we can be with Jesus. And so clutter steals the peace and the tranquility we desire. But then lastly, clutter gets in the way of what is most important. Clutter just has a way of getting in the way. And can I say this? Clutter usually doesn't happen all at once. It's not like we just go and purchase a tractor trailer load of stuff. You sit and you order all the stuff online or all the call-in commercials, and you just order all this stuff. No. It doesn't happen all at once. It's just a kind of a slow pace of accumulating stuff. Think back to the basement, the attic, or the closet. It usually gets cluttered over a longer period of time as stuff is shoved, it's thrown, and it's accumulated. And our lives are the same way. Whether it's people, whether it's issues, whether it's drama, whether it's whatever it is, these things begin to slowly accumulate into our lives to do what? To become clutter. And you see, it's the non-essentials that can get in the way of the essentials. And so when we're thinking about living a simple life, simplicity, being a minimalist, it does this. It brings clarity into your life because you're removing what is not essential. So it frees up attention and time that you can devote elsewhere. You can devote on what your goals are. You can devote on being with Jesus. You can devote on the ministry that he's called you to. It can be the roles that you know that you are created for, of being a student, that you can fully devote your time to being the best student possible, to being the best mom and wife possible, to being the best daughter or son possible, to being the best coworker, the best manager, whatever it is. It frees up your attention and time to give the best of you to what is essential. And it will reduce the amount of decisions you have to make. And we're going to talk about that on our next episode. So do this. Take the time to evaluate and inventory what is in your life. And consider this. Where do you have excess? What is non-essential in your life? And start there. Maybe you want to just start by decluttering your closet. That's where I began. That's always kind of a go-to easy place. You look at your clothes and you're like, man, half this stuff I don't need. It's kind of cluttered. And you begin to go through and you try to simplify. Why? Because then when I get up in the morning, I don't have to make 5 minutes of a decision. What am I going to wear? Does this go? Does that? Nah. I have it very simplified to go, okay, these outfits, this is what I have. I have less choices, so I have less distractions. We're going to talk about that on our next episode. So maybe start in your closet. Maybe then move to a room in your house. Maybe move to your calendar. Maybe begin to look at your life, how you're spending your day, your week, your month. Is your calendar so cluttered that you have no margin in your life? Is it full of non-essentials? Are you devoting your bulk of your time to what is important and what really matters? Or do you find yourself, like me many times, all these non-essentials are just robbing your attention and robbing your time, and then the essentials in your life are getting your leftovers? That's not the way it's supposed to be. So step by step, baby steps, get rid of the clutter in your life, and join with us on the next episode, and we'll talk about this idea of reducing the amount of choices that you have to make in order to remove the busyness to be with Jesus. Thank you for taking the time to listen. If this podcast has been helpful to you, please share it with a friend or subscribe to stay up to date on the latest episodes. You can connect with Collegians for Christ online for more information and resources at cfccampusministry.com.